Often, when we think about archaeology, we think about digging holes under the ground, inside mountains. But today, water and the sea will be where the secrets we're about to unfold reside. Enjoy. Hello noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and have you ever heard or seen pictures of the ancient Roman town of Baia? I've of course just used the Italian name now, but the ancient Roman would be Baiae, and you see that if you Google this, you'll find a lot of incredible images and pictures, and if you have never heard of this, then you're in for a treat. The ancient Roman town could be found on the northwest Gulf of Naples, so pretty much around here on the map of the Campania region. And it was a town that initially was built, probably the early settlements are in the Republic, but I'm not sure about the exact dating. But what's interesting about this is that it became at around 100 BC and then 80 BC a sort of resort where rich and wealthy Romans, including some emperors, would just go to spend time in the natural terme and waters, sort of volcanic waters. Now, one of the main characteristics that you will notice is the fact that a lot of it is underwater, and it's not deep, so it's something that if you are into scuba diving is actually quite easy to visit and see these incredible statues. There are several temples dedicated to various gods. Most of those are above water. There's a temple of Venus, temple of Mercury. There are quite a few, but I think the most interesting parts are the ones that are indeed submerged. And I think it would be fair to describe Baia as a sunken marvel. As we read in Atlas Obscura, the sunken city of Baia. In its heyday, the classical Roman city of Baia was the hedonist Las Vegas of the time, but now its remains are partly beneath the waves. A prominent resort city for centuries, Baia catered to the recreational whims of the rich and powerful among the Roman elite. The city, which was located over natural volcanic vents, was famous for its healing medicinal hot springs, which occurred all around the city and were quite easy to build spas over. Some of antiquity's most powerful figures, such as Nero, Cicero, and Caesar, were known to have visited the city, and a number of them actually built permanent vacations villas there. This started occurring in 80 BC, for what I recall. Unfortunately, the good times were not to last, as the city was sacked by a Muslim army in the 8th century. By 1500s, the remains of the formerly luxurious town were abandoned. After the city remains were emptied, the water level slowly rose due to the same volcanic vents that were once a draw to the area, and most of the ancient ruins were drowned under the shallow waters of the bay. You know, I sometimes ask myself that if the city hadn't been abandoned, I wonder if something similar or akin to how Venice is would have happened. Maybe we would have had a second Venice on a smaller scale. Today, the ancient remains of Baia can be visited in one of the world's few underwater archaeological parks. Visitors can view the crumbled structures and amazingly preserved statuary of the city through glass-bottom boats, snorkeling, or even scuba dives, which allow people to actually swim amongst the copious ruins. Could you imagine that? While the city is no longer a resort, its waters still hold wonders. It was a pretty nice article. Even the BBC has an article on this. Like, as you know, I'm not a big fan of the BBC, so let's double check that they don't say anything nonsensical about it. Still, pretty cool picture. Look at that. Okay, never mind, this article is kind of boring. You can read it if you want. This one is more interesting. So from Heritage Daily, acoustic remote sensing reveals sunken Roman city of Baia. And this is from 2022. Norbit Subsea and 2B Control, in collaboration with the Institute of Heritage Science of the Italian National Research Council, have conducted a study of the partially submerged Roman city of Baia in the Gulf of Naples, Italy. Baia was a fashionable Roman resort for centuries in antiquity, visited by many notable Roman figures such as Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, also known as Pompey the Great. Guys, Pompey's here. Pompey went to this place. I love this place now. Now that Pompey's there. Great. And Julius Caesar. Baia was noted by Sextus Propertius, a poet of the Augustan age during the 1st century BC, who wrote that the city was a, open quotes, vortex of luxury, close quotes, and a, open quotes, harbor of the vice, close quotes. And it is important to underline that much of the submerged section is indeed the commercial harbor, or the commercial port, if you will. Due to the position of the city on the Cumaean Peninsula, hence the original name, which was Cumaean waters, if I don't remember wrong. Then they changed the name because I think they wanted to connect it with the idea of having been founded by Bius, who is a character in the Odyssey. So I think there was, I mean, the Romans did this a lot. They would take characters from the myths and then they would connect the founding of a specific location with that famous character. So Cumaean Peninsula in the Phlegraean Fields, Campi Phlegraei, yeah, an active and volatile volcanic region which the Romans believed was the home of the Roman god of fire, Vulcanus. Local volcanic bradyseismic activity raised and lowered the geology of the peninsula, leading to the lower parts of the city being submerged beneath the sea. As part of the demonstration within the Baia Archaeological Park, Norbit Subsea and 2B Control used high-frequency acoustic mapping combined with surface imaging that has centimetric resolution and multi-beam sonar, revealing a detailed reconstruction of submerged objects and archaeological features on the seabed. A 10 centimeters DTM is the first result of the high data density and resolution acquired, a primary record of the current state of the submerged archaeological features that will allow archaeologists to start to refine the overall mapping and measurement of the submerged remains at Baia, which is absolutely awesome. Look at this. Oh, I wish it was clickable, but we can enlarge it a little bit. Look at that. Whew. As I say, it's not too deep, luckily. I'll have to convince my wife to go and visit. I could begin that sentence by saying, let me take you to a spa. Do you like the spa? She's going to say yes, and then I'll take her here, and I'll say, hey, you said yes to the spa. I didn't specify ancient or modern. Did I? The spa. You know, sometimes when we think about this and we're like, but why did the Romans build near such a seismic volcanic section that could have created, could have been a problem, and indeed ended up being a problem since the thing was submerged? And similarly, you could ask the same thing when it comes to Pompeii, the famous city. You're like, well, why did the Romans build it next to a freaking volcano? And the reality is that the Romans didn't know. I mean, when it comes to this bay, I think they just saw, hey, look at these amazing waters. They're probably like, they might be warm or they might have some interesting activity. And so they're like, you know what, let's build here. They were good like that. And indeed, it was something that for generations at least, it became popular. It's of course, this is the Gulf of Naples. I think it's near the Gulf of Pozzuoli, so it's going to look incredible. It's going to be beautiful. So obviously people are going to settle there. It's not like they understand that there are some seismic problems underneath the crust and then they could create something. They don't know that. But when it comes to the volcano, you're like, yeah, but the volcano is there. Couldn't they see it? Here's the thing. When we look, and let me do it on Google, wait a second. If you look up the Vesuvius, you'll see that it looks like this. So you're like, yeah, of course, that's a volcano. Like immediately you can spot, yeah, that looks like a volcano. Thing is though, this is the way it looks now. After there was the eruption that created this little bit of a crater that you can see, that is big, in fact, crater that you see there. But in ancient Rome, it didn't look like that. It looked like just a regular mountain. It had its own peak. So yeah, when you look at it now, particularly with the knowledge that we have, that it went back to being active, then yeah, you could say, yeah, I wouldn't settle near it. But in reality, from the perspective of the Romans, they were just settling near a tall, beautiful mountain, and that was it. And what's interesting is that there is no reason to think that the Romans had any idea that this used to be an active volcano, because the previous eruption would have been prehistoric. So even if at one point there would have been some sort of memory of something that could have happened in prehistory, by the times that the original settlers decided to build Pompeii, that memory would have been completely gone. It's important to put things into perspective from a historical standpoint when it comes to trying to understand why the ancients do things like this. And regardless, we do it. We build near volcanoes and areas that are at high seismic risk all the time. It's not like the Japanese are not going to settle, where also because, I mean, the Japanese have 2 times the amount of population that Italy has over the same area. So yeah, it's a little packed. But in general, humans do this. We settle, even modernly, even with our current understanding, we still settle in areas that are at high seismic risk. We settle in areas that have risk of tsunami. We settle in areas that are at risk of possible eruptions, and we still do it. When it comes to the Romans, I don't think they had any idea when it comes to both Baia and Pompeii, but even if they did, I think as humans we'll still do it. We do challenge nature, and at the end of the day, we oftentimes kind of have a little bit of a pros and cons evaluation. So we think, well, there is this risk, but how high of a risk is it? And then we try to assess it, and then we think, yeah, I think we can build here, the risk is not too bad, and sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. Splendid place, just wanted to share it with you. I really liked it, so I just thought I would share it with you in case you didn't know, so you can go and deep dive into all the images and pictures, and I hope that you're going to enjoy that. And I'm going to show you a few of my favorite now, and then after that, I'm just going to say thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow for my next daily upload. Goodbye. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much.